Welcome to the Building Web3 Podcast. Today we're diving into the world of decentralized AI and Web3 with Spartan Labs. Discover how they're pioneering new technology like token-bound accounts, AI agents, and AI-powered Web3 games. Remember, nothing stated here is financial advice. Welcome to the Building Web3 Podcast. Today, my good friend Audrey. She is the CTO at Spartan Labs. Audrey, before we get too deep into Spartan Labs, let's get a little background on what you were doing before you got into the Web3 space, and what was your come to crypto moment?
Come to crypto moment. I like that saying. So I actually started my career as a data scientist working in AI. And I was actually CTO of an edTech startup that was using AI to help teachers plan more engaging lessons. And I did that from maybe 2019 until 2021. And it was really hard, especially convincing teachers to buy into AI helping them with their lessons. The sales cycles obviously are long with EdTech, and it's even longer when you're trying to convince people of some new technology. So I kind of got burnt out trying to convince people, of trying new technology to solve real world problems. So at the same time, towards the end of my time as CTO at this EdTech startup, I started to dive into crypto and blockchain, especially just more blockchain technology. And my come to crypto moment was just kind of realizing that blockchain was just this big open space. A lot of the challenges I was facing trying to convince people to try new technology with AI and Web2, everyone in Web3, it was just such a welcoming community. Everyone was interested in pushing the boundaries, getting new technology, finding new applications. So I really saw it as just this wide open space where I can build and not have some of the restrictions that I was facing with building in Web2. And that's how I became just full on DGen.
Awesome. And now walk us up to the point of you getting to Spartan Labs and why you decided to join them.
Yeah, so before I started at Spartan Labs, I was working as a fractional CTO or a consultant, building all sorts of things. So I worked on projects in DAOs, NFTs, Web3 gaming. I worked on a project with Prime Labs doing decentralized data storage. So I consider myself like a 0 to 1 builder. I like going onto a blank space and just figuring out what needs to be built, figuring out the best way to build it. And that's what excites me. So working on a whole bunch of projects is just what I love, especially in Web3 because it moves so fast. I couldn't imagine just building one thing for 2 or 3 years and just focusing on that one challenge because there's just so much happening and it's happening so fast. So I've always worked on a lot of projects. So then when I met Adrian Lay, who is the head of studio at Spartan Labs, and it was the same thing. It was me being able to work with a team, but doing a whole bunch of different projects and having my hand in a lot of different things. So it was kind of just my passion that I was doing as consultancy, but being able to do it with this kick-ass team as well.
Absolutely. And tell, for people that are unfamiliar, what is Spartan Labs? What is the mission there?
Yeah. So Spartan Labs is the venture studio and R&D arm of Spartan Group. Spartan Group is it has three components. There's the fund, advisory, and venture studio, which is Spartan Labs. And at Spartan Labs, we do a few things. So we do act as an internal R&D for Spartan Group. So we build internally projects that help build ecosystems that we're a part of, as well as just some, thesis or some tech catalysts that we're really interested in. We might build proof of concepts in order to just explore technological applications of different projects that have launched. In addition to that, for the traditional venture studio, we co-build with very, very early stage founding teams. So we're, like I said, 0 to 1, where there's maybe an idea, there's a very loose team together, but there's no token, there's no product in the market. And I see Spartan Labs as like filling gaps. So when we get behind a project that we're really excited about, we look at what gaps need to be filled. Is it in marketing? Is it in go to market? Is it fundraising? Is it technical product? And then you have a core team of great builders and strategists in Web3, and we fill those gaps until they go to market and hopefully are able to raise.
Awesome. And is there a specific vertical that you guys focus on, or a specific blockchain, or are you completely agnostic?
We're really agnostic. There are some things that we're good at that we're like consider like our sweet spot. One of them, we're very good at consumer crypto, so we don't really do a lot of infra. We like to do things that's more consumer focused, or else very like low touch B2B. Where we can, navigate partnerships and navigate great like building community and a great go to market strategy. And in addition to that, like over the last, I would say 6 to 9 months, we've had a heavy focus in decentralized AI, or just like the intersection of AI and Web3. Just because we see a lot of great applications, there's a lot of great decentralized infra being built. So we've really been diving deep and exploring on-chain agents, automation through AI, and things of this nature.
Got it. And when you're building one of these like decentralized AI solutions for the venture studio, what are some of the technologies in this stack you guys commonly reach for?
Yeah, so it really depends on the application, but some things that we've been exploring that we're really excited about, for example, is like ERC 6551, which is token bound accounts. So I don't know if you've heard of token bound accounts. That was authored by Future Primitive. So ERC 6551 is attaching a wallet to an NFTs to ERC 721. So basically, when you sell this NFT, the NFT has a wallet already there, and you can actually pre-program that wallet. So it's for us, this is a great like distribution mechanism for on-chain agents, because you can sell an NFT and kind of sell the underlying AI logic and mini software application with the NFT that you sell. So that's one kind of standard that we're looking at. And we're really excited about a lot of the decentralized AI infrastructure that's in the pipeline. One thing that we're really interested in is like OLAS or Autonomous, that's using a multi-agent system. So there's a lot of great applications that we see with on-chain agents with this OLAS project. So let me give you one example. Sometimes, let's say you have AI automation. Maybe you have one AI model, and then you don't want, and let's say it's a DeFi automation. You don't want AI model that might become incorrect or have some hallucination transferring a lot of money out of your account when it shouldn't. But with OLAS and their multi-agent system, you can actually create multiple agents that actually have to form consensus. So you're not just relying on one model that could be wrong or could have errors, but you can have, 9 to 10 models that have to, at least 51% have to come to the same conclusion to buy or sell. So it allows for you to have a more robust AI system that's a little bit more solid and trustworthy, and it's just a better stack to build AI automation on top of. Some other things that I'm really excited about is, for example, Parallel, which is just kind of moved to Solana, but they've just recently launched Wayfinder, which is an API. They built this model that's like a self-learning player in the game. So imagine, for example, currently when you think of a game, you have, we're the players and we compete against each other. But with Parallel, the AI is competing against each other, and we basically help train the AI. And so they've created this special model where the AI is self-learning. So as it goes through the environment, it learns how to survive, how to grow, materials, how to buy, sell, trade. And this Wayfinder API allows for other Web3 games to actually use the same self-learning model to create these AI player agents. So we see a lot of great applications for Web3 gaming, where there's a whole area that's open up as far as like AI powered games, where you're not the player, but you're actually the owner of the player, and the AI is the player itself. So those are a
Absolutely.
couple of examples. Yeah.
And then for people that are like they probably inferred a bit about what an AI agent is, but if you could give the one-on-one explanation on like the TLDR, what's an AI agent?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of discussion about AI agents, so I don't think that there's like one solid answer, especially if we're talking about, decentralized on-chain agents. But there's a couple of things. If with an on-chain agent, especially if it's powered by AI, then you're basically building an ecosystem or building infrastructure where the AI is able to create to initiate transactions on your behalf or on its own behalf. So think about, like, let's say you have Chat GPT, right? You can ask Chat GPT to write you an email, but that it can draft the email for you and make recommendations on the email, but it can't actually send the email for you. You need other infrastructure in order to plug that AI LLM model into some other software infrastructure in order for it to actually send the email on your behalf. So we see on-chain agents, or just AI agents in general, is moving away from like a chat bot, or just something where it's just a discussion in a chat, where it's actually plugged into software that allows it to take action on your behalf. So it can actually send the email, or it can send ETH to your wallet, or it can purchase an NFT based on this AI model that you've empowered it with.
Absolutely. And what are you guys specifically doing in the AI agent field or
Yeah, there's a few projects that we're working on. So one that we're really happy with is called AgentFi. So it's using on-chain automation to actually automate DeFi strategies. So you purchase an NFT. Inside the NFT, you can load it with different modules that could be like DCA modules or rebalancing of a liquidity pool module. And then based on the modules that you load into your NFT, it changes the behavior of the NFT. And we have a lot of logic that's built in on the back end that will take those automated actions on your behalf. So it will be, for example, checking the price points of the liquidity pool to see if you need to rebalance, or it could be checking gas prices to see if it's an optimal time to bridge from one blockchain to the other. So that's an example of AgentFi, or like DeFi strategies with AI. We also are working currently on a project that's like gaming, AI powered gaming, where the AIs are competing with each other in like a food competition. So each of the games is like each of the AI agents is a chef, and then it creates its own recipes and submits to a judging panel that's also chef, celebrity chefs, and then it's kind of like your Gordon Ramsay type of AIs competing for each other to see who's like the master chef bot. Yeah. Um,
that's fun.
yeah, it's exciting. And so we also have, for example, something in SocialFi where we're using AI AI to help with like matching of interest, built on top of Farcaster. So it's a let's say you're at an event, it will kind of like match you with other people that are also at the event that have similar interests and similar topics in their Farcaster accounts as you. So it's like kind of gamified AI powered networking as well. Mhm.
Now, interesting side note, what do you think of Farcaster?
I love Farcaster. It's actually weird because I think I was walking my dog earlier today thinking about, like how much I love Farcaster and how much, like I should really move away from Twitter. And so it's kind of weird that you asked that, because I was just like, I love Farcaster. But one of the things that I love about Farcaster is because it's open. So like if you wanted to create an AI model that helps you, connect with people that have interest of yours, or how have AI, like for example, you heard of the Dunbar score before?
The Dunbar score, I've not.
Yeah, so Dunbar score is basically saying, like they did this test and they said that humans are only really able to have 150 real connections with other humans, right? So beyond that, it's like you can't keep track, right? So when you think about like building Web3 communities, or just like how you're able to network in your career, for example, this Dunbar score is like a limit on how many people you can actually have meaningful relationships with, right? So I've been interested in this idea that, okay, like this Dunbar score has been in existence, like this is human, cap. But with AI, like then what is the Dunbar score that you can get if you have AI helping you with your relationships and helping you create meaningful relationships? Does that change, the Dunbar score for human relationships in general? And one of the ways that you do that is like having social networks that are accessible to AI models so that they can assist us in how we interact with other people. Twitter is closed. It used to be open where you could pull an API and get all your followers and keep track of what your followers are doing. But now you have to pay, thousands and thousands of dollars a month in order to get a very limited access to the information. But on Farcaster, it's open. So Farcaster allows you to actually have AI, augmented or AI powered social connections. And a lot of the other closed social medias platforms just don't allow that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I I like the idea. Well, I've only really spent time on Warpcaster, truthfully,
Yeah.
and I find it to be quite confusing at times. It's like a weird hybrid of Reddit and Twitter for people that are unfamiliar. Is there a specific is Warpcaster? What do you think of when you think of Farcaster? Yeah.
Yeah, there are some clients that are I think that are also really interesting and kind of exploring like this open access to social media, social engagement. But majority of my interactions on Farcaster is through Warpcast. Yeah.
Is there a specific channel you like?
I'm definitely in the dev channel, like whoop whoop. And I'm also really interested in frames. I love the idea of frames. I think there's still a little bit more work that needs to be done, especially because they feel too ephemeral. So if you're not like spamming your channel like every day, posting the link as well, it kind of just like falls out of your users attention. So it's difficult to, like, for example, build a game or something that's supposed to be long lasting with frames. And then also I'm one of the founding bean members of Beans DAO, which is a really awesome project that's similar to like Nouns DAO, where there's a bean that's auctioned every day. So you should check out the Beans DAO channel. It's actually really cool and really fun also. Yeah.
Yeah, so people that are unfamiliar, there were a few things mentioned. So one, frames. How would you describe frames? And then I'll quickly describe Nouns DAO. So Nouns DAO was or is a DAO that essentially auctions off an artwork piece, which is an NFT every single day, and then that money goes into funding like public goods projects. So we had Willie on here, and they do Noun Space, which was a MySpace clone for Farcaster.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah. So Beans DAO is very similar. We auction off one bean a day. And the artwork's a little bit different. It's SVG that's like base 64 encoded. So in order for us to kind of achieve all of the different traits that we wanted, we actually had to launch 100 smart contracts that all like act as storage of different assets. And then we have like one builder contract that basically pulls from all of these 100 contracts in order to like build the bean for on chain. So everything is on chain, but it's a little bit more complex of artwork. It's not pixel artwork like Nouns is. And we use our treasury to fund artists. So all of the funds that come from the auction go into a treasury that is maintained by the community. So yeah, it's CCO and everything.
Very, very cool. So let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges of building AI on chain. Talk about some of the challenges you guys have encountered and how you've worked to overcome them.
Yeah, so I can't say like myself specifically, but I can say in general, I think that one of the major challenges with decentralized AI is that it really, you have to have, first, you have to have builders that basically change the way they build. and adopt a new system. And that's always challenging. Builders, developers, you're a developer. It takes a long time for you to craft your skills, whether it's like deploying a Lambda on AWS or, integrating OpenAI into, your front end, etc. So when you're asking a builder to change what they've learned and what they're comfortable with, it takes a bit of time. I think there's still work to be done with like making sure decentralized AI is easy to implement. Documentation is like awesome, so it's not a headache for builders to implement, as well as like there's enough incentives that kind of entice builders to build cool stuff on these different infras, which might be grants, might be marketing support, it might be additional dev resources or dev assistance from the infrastructure team itself. So that's the first layer, like getting, I think any protocol, any project that's about building, it's like, how do you convince like really awesome builders to build using your software, your technology? So that's the first. And then the second is that, web AI is still relatively new, but a lot of users of AI are really comfortable going to Gemini, going to OpenAI. It has a great user interface. It's easy to integrate into front end. So we have to think through like applications that have just as good UI as Web 2, closed AI platform. So it has great UI, great experience. It's easy for users to use. And in addition to that, the users can then feel all of the great things about it being decentralized, like feeling like they have ownership, feeling like they're being rewarded for their participation in the ecosystem, etc. So it takes a little bit longer for any decentralized product takes a little bit longer. It's a little bit harder because you have to get people on board and change their normal behavior. But in the long run, we all believe that decentralization is better because everyone owns it, everyone can contribute, and it's kind of like access for all. So.
Now, give me your favorite centralized model, and then we'll follow that with your favorite decentralized model.
Ooh, so I mean, definitely a big open AI. It's like it's hard. It's so hard to say. Like I started using open AI in like 2019 or maybe 2020, but very very early on, where you actually had to email the CTO and ask him to give you. An API key, and you had to kind of basically say what you were working on and convince him to give you an API key. So I've been OpenAI for a very long time. And for me, it solves the issue, it solves whatever problems I need if I just want to do a quick like AI project. But there's been like some really cool open source models, like Facebook just announced its open source model that has 400 plus million params, which is almost like maybe more or comparable to OpenAI. So, there are some open source LLMs that are competing relatively well against OpenAI and Gemini, for example.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, building, Web3 startups. Let's talk a little bit about, because one of our goals is to bring more builders in the space. Would you advise maybe like a new founder that has an idea for like a DeFi protocol or something like that? What kind of advice would you give them in order to like just get started?
Yeah. So this is something that because I'm not traditionally from, I'm not traditionally a protocol developer. Like I said, I started out as a data scientist, and then, my primary coding language was Python. So moving over to Web3 was, a big challenge, a big change for me, learning about, Solidity, learning about JavaScript, which I didn't really use as much in initially, because I love Python. So one of the things that I learned is just like you just have to do by building. And what I love about Web3 is like it's really not about what school you went to, what country you live in. It's not about any of those things that may be kind of like part of corporate, engagement in Web2. It's really just about, can you build? And the more you build, the better a portfolio you have, the better you are to like get partnerships and get potential people to work with you and get jobs, etc. So I think that before you launch a project, build your portfolio, build your network, get plugged in communities like Developer DAO, or Raider DAO, where you can really be a part of other people that are also building and learning at the same time, and just do a lot of small projects so that you can really, really understand, all of the different components. One thing that I like is, like, let's say you have a tutorial, and the tutorial will give you, X, Y, and Z. It'll explain something. But if you just do the tutorial, you probably don't really understand under the hood what's going on. So whenever I was starting out and I would complete a tutorial, I would think about, how can I change this? How can I add another layer to this? How can I, swap some things out and manipulate it so it's like an idea that's a bit unique, which would require me to kind of pull some things apart, put some new things in, and adjust, because I think that's really when you're able to learn. You're not kind of just like copying and pasting. Um, Another thing is that we are in the era of like AI powered code. You have Claude, where you can ask Claude to build stuff for you, which is awesome. But really, if you're starting out, you really want to understand why these things are the outputs from the chat GPT, so that you really understand what's happening, and that you can change it and you can modify it and you can build on top of it, or else you just like copy and code, and if the code breaks, you have no idea how to fix it.
Absolutely. And if you couldn't work on, let's say, Spartan Labs, is there a project that you think would be very interesting in the Web3 space, or do you feel like there's an area that's underdeveloped that you wish someone would develop?
Yeah, I have so many awesome projects that I love. So, like coming from education, from my edTech, and I was an educator before a data scientist. I love education. So one of the projects that I wish that I thought of, or can work or could work with, is Build Space. I don't know if you've heard of Build Space, but I just love what they do, and how they encourage people to build. Right now, they have like this thing called Nights and Weekends, which is kind of like, people, allowing people to come together. It's like just hacking on the weekends, and they give them support and tutorials and funding, and so it's a really cool project that I like a lot. When you're talking about decentralized AI, I love OLAS, and I think the autonomous, this OLAS system is really cool. And there's a lot of opportunity there. I think that people are still, there's builders that are just coming around and trying to figure out what to build on top of it. But I think there's some really unique and interesting applications that can be done there. I love Web3 gaming, especially AI powered gaming. So I love Parallel. There's also this new project that just came out called Theoric, which is also kind of like an on-chain agents application layer. They just recently launched or published their light paper, and so I find that really interesting as well. If I weren't working on Spartan Labs, I probably would be doing something in Web3 gaming that has an AI focus. I think that a lot of times people ignore gaming like it's not important. But in actual fact, I think that a lot of great technological advances first appeared to us as a game, and then as they develop and get more refined, then they find other real world applications. Because when you're like tinkering with technology, you don't want it to like go straight into like a pacemaker or something. Like, it's too high stakes, right? But having a game, a Web3 game, or having a building like really cutting edge technology as part of the game, it allows for you to refine it in like a low cost, or like a low risk environment, and you can really just build and play and engage. And so I'm a really big Web3 gamer.
Absolutely. And finally, where can people learn more about your work, get involved with Spartan Labs? Maybe they have an idea for a project. I don't know if you guys incubate, but talk to them a little bit about how they can get involved and who should be reaching out to you.
Yeah, definitely. So, if you find me on Twitter, it's 0x Audrey. Audrey is spelled Oddrey. The same on Warcast as well. For Spartan Labs, it's the Spartan Labs on Twitter and on Farcast on Warcast as well. Yeah, and then I'm happy to anyone to reach out, on Telegram. It's Audrey Akwenye and at Audrey Akwenye, especially if you are building something in decentralized AI space, whether it's like applications or infra or whichever, part of the pipeline, or whichever layer you're on. Like, we're really interested in finding really cool projects that are building at the intersection of AI and Web3 as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'll put all the links in the description. Thank you so much for coming on the Building Web3 podcast. And to everyone listening, let's get back to building the future.